This program is produced by Eagle Mountain Apostolic Resource Center. To find additional episodes of this program, as well as other content, visit eaglemountain.tv.
I'm going on record right now, I've never had a harebrained idea.
He's had lots of ideas that have hair on them.
Did you just say I've had lots of ideas with hair on them?
Yes. Okay.
Oh my goodness. What?
The devil?
I found him.
Why am I not surprised that he's in here?
He's over here in this bucket. There he is. Mr. Sin! Not bothering us anymore.
How are you doing there, Foxy?
Such a beef wit.
Do you know who you're talking to? I'm Mr. Sim. You can't talk to me like that. You don't have to be rude.
I said beef wit.
Beef wit, that's even worse. No, I'm not a fan of that, but I am a fan of finding out what you're doing after this show. Maybe we could go grab some drinks or something. What do you say?
No thanks.
Hey everybody, welcome to Together We Build. My name is Chris Banke. I'm here with Prudence O'Hare, and I am super excited today because we're going to be getting into something I think super important. It affects everyone, and that is finances, right? Mm-hmm. I mean, I don't know anybody that's not affected by finances, money, investing, to some degree, like everybody is. We have an amazing guest that I'm just getting to know. His name is Chad Hufford. I'm very excited to talk to him. Chad, how are you doing today?
I'm doing very well. It's a pleasure to be here joining you both.
Super cool. Glad that you're on with us. Now, we were just chatting about this a second ago, but we're here in the Pacific Northwest in Bend, Oregon. Chad, where are you in the world?
Anchorage, Alaska.
Anchorage, Alaska. And how long has Anchorage, Alaska been your home?
Too long. No, I'm kidding.
Too long.
I was born and raised there. We're putting the finishing touches on a long winter. This one has been a rough one. We had record snowfalls.
Oh man.
We also had some record lows, which we usually don't get a super cold winter along with a lot of snow. It's usually kind of one or the other. But hey, this year we got both. So
yeah,
I'm ready for springtime. But no, it's a beautiful place. It's a wonderful place. We just need to break up the winter a little bit, and we're heading out to Arizona in a couple of weeks to thaw out. So
okay, that sounds perfect. Nice. That sounds absolutely perfect. So, so I think I was in Anchorage. The last time I think I was there was when I was like 1 year old. So I don't remember it very well. From what I remember, it was incredible. From what I remember,
well, your memory is great because it's a fantastic place. Just visit in the summer.
Visit in the summer. But don't you guys have mosquitoes that are like hummingbird-sized mosquitoes?
Okay, there are places where it gets pretty nasty. But you also have to remember, like, Alaska is so huge. We have rainforests, we have deserts, we have mountains, we have tundra. So here in Anchorage,
diverse.
It's not terrible. And thankfully where we live at some elevation, and the mosquitoes don't like it up there. And it's really quite pleasant. So
perfect. I love that. Okay, so Chad and I are just getting to know each other. So I don't know him super well. I'm gonna have him introduce himself in a second so that we get all the most important information. But before we do that, Chad, we have this trivia. We have this trivia game, and Prudence, she pretty much always wins. Is that right, Prudence?
That's not entirely true.
It's not? Come on.
No.
And just so you know, Chad, we're doing animal trivia right now, which is not what I would have picked. It's not even in the top 10, but I let Prudence decide. So we're doing animal trivia. So we're going to find out, Chad, can you defeat Prudence with the animal trivia? Before we even start, what do you think you can?
All I know is I feel this pressure because if my kids listen to this, they're going to be so disappointed if I don't win animal trivia.
Okay. Chad, to be really blunt.
So Prudence, go easy on me.
I'm putting my money on you, actually, Chad. So, all right, here's the first one. Which aquatic mammal has the most extended lifespan? Which aquatic mammal? Okay, so we got blue whale. Prudence, what do you think? You're overthinking it. Unless you know more about marine biology than I thought.
No, I don't know very much about marine biology.
Just make
I don't know. A pufferfish.
A pufferfish. Very good guess. I'm going to give it to Chad. The actual answer is bowhead whale. But
Okay.
since I've never heard of a bowhead whale, I think Chad gets this one.
Yeah.
Normally I have these buttons.
So.
I forgot to get my buttons. But I'm giving you the cheers button right now on that one, Chad. Nice job. So far you're definitely not winning, Prudence. Okay, next question. Which bird is considered the fastest bird? The fastest bird.
Oh, man. I don't know if I would know its name. I feel like I've seen it before, though.
You've seen it? It's been on your tail. It's been after you. Chad, what's your...
Is it some sort of a hawk, maybe?
You can't...
I don't know.
Okay, is your guess... Your guess is some sort of
I'm
hawk.
going to say a hawk.
Okay, hawk. Chad, what's your... I'm getting the buttons. Yes.
Yeah, my kids are going to be really disappointed because I should know this one. And I can't think of what it is.
You're going to know
now.
it. You're going to know it. When I say it, you're going to know it. The answer is the peregrine falcon.
Oh, it's a falcon?
Yeah.
There's an episode of Wildcrafts. I don't know if you guys are familiar with that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
On the peregrine falcon, and my kids, I'm going to be in timeout when I go home later. So I missed that one.
You were working through the episode, most likely.
But it's not a hawk, so it was a draw. So you kind of still won that one. How many heart chambers does a cockroach have?
A cockroach?
Yeah, a cockroach. You know, the guys that'll survive the nuclear holocaust? Those guys.
6?
6. Okay, one answer, 6. Chad, what's your answer?
I'm going to go 7.
7. I'm giving it to Chad because the answer is 12. And 7 is closer to 12 than 6 is. Yeah, I would have said 4. I would have said 4. Or I would have said 2 or something, weird like that. But no, 12. 12 heart chambers.
That's crazy.
So now you're prepared for totally random
need
trivia.
12? You know what? Just next question.
Okay, next question. Next question's the last question. Okay, you ready? What animal lays the largest egg? Wait, Chad gets to go first.
Okay.
Chad, what do you think?
I would say ostrich.
Ostrich, okay. Prudence?
A tortoise?
Tortoise, okay. Excellent. The answer is ostrich. So, Chad.
Well, I had to pick something different because he picked ostrich.
Chad,
I took yours. I'm sorry.
Your kids can be totally proud of their father because you completely you won by a lot. You just totally won by a lot. So nice job. We didn't go away. I just made that screen bigger here for us. But so Chad, I think it's enough trivia. What do you?
Yep.
Let's be done with that.
It's enough.
You've lost enough.
Yes.
Yes. But Chad, so not only is Chad amazing at animal trivia, but Chad's also an expert in the financial space. And Chad, I'd love to hear from you. Why don't you just do an intro for us? What are the most important things people need to know about you? Because I know you have a pretty big background in a lot of different areas. So fill us in, catch us up.
Well, there's a lot of industry jargon I can throw out, but at its simplest, our job is to make sure that people don't run out of money or purpose in retirement. And when I first started this, I thought it was mostly about the money. And then I saw a lot of people who were getting the money piece right, but were still not finding a lot of fulfillment in their retirement. They had financial independence, but they didn't really have meaningful purpose. They didn't have pursuit. So we've been trying to join those things, and we do the traditional financial planning, but the joy and the beauty of this is to be able to take principles from Proverbs. I'm sure a lot of your listeners are familiar with Dave Ramsey. We're taking Dave Ramsey's principles, but we're applying them to everyday people. We're applying them to individual lives and seeing the impact that makes. And what I've noticed is when people start to experience freedom and confidence in their finances, it has a ripple effect into the rest of their life.
Yeah, totally. I love that. So would you say that makes you a financial planner, or is that not the right
I am. Yeah. Officially, we are a financial planning firm.
Yeah.
We do financial planning, but it really, Chris, it's become more coaching than planning because I mean, as we're sitting here recording this, we're middle of the way through March, and you go to a gym, and I don't know if it's what it's like in Oregon. Here in Alaska, the gym's already back to normal because all your news resolution people quit.
Yeah,
now,
by February they were gone. By February,
a lot of them had a plan. A lot of them had access to the equipment, but they didn't have the accountability. They didn't have the encouragement, the exhortation to keep pushing, to keep executing.
It's good.
So the planning piece is important, but there's a Dwight Eisenhower had a phrase that said, "No plan survives first contact with the enemy," and I think no budget survives first contact with your paycheck, and no retirement plan survives first contact with life. So it's a constant evolution of that process, and that's where the coaching and accountability piece is so important. And so that's what we've tried to add into the traditional financial planning model.
Man, that's so good. That is so good. I think that with finances, with a lot of people, I think what happens is they know they don't have a plan. They know that's a bad plan to not have a plan. And so it kind of moves to a mode of, man, I'm just going to just not think about it because that's uncomfortable to think about it. Do you find that to be true with your clients?
Not our clients, but I think the condition some people are in when they come to us is like, hey, I've been collecting investments for a long time. I've been saving, but there's no rhyme or reason. It's just, again, it's a collection. I want a strategy. I want to take this collection and turn it into a process. So I'm actually strategically building a financial house, not just hammering boards together and hoping something turns out.
Yeah.
But I think there's there's an intimidation factor to finances, to investing. And I think, unfortunately, it causes a lot of people to just ignore it. Right. And like what you said at the beginning of the show is absolutely right, Chris. It's a part of everybody's life, whether you like it or not, whether you are into finances or not. I think it's a lot like our health. It's a lot like our faith. If you ignore it, it only gets worse.
Yeah.
So if you're not actively strengthening your finances, if you're not actively strengthening your faith, if you're not actively strengthening your health, all three of those areas will deteriorate. So I think we have a duty to understand. We don't need to be experts, but understand at least to a working degree of what financial stewardship looks like and how to apply those principles.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so good. I guess I'd love to know and just dig into, just dive into this. What are the most common misconceptions that people have regarding investing, financial planning, and just that whole long-term financial picture that they have?
Well, I think one thing we already kind of touched on a little bit is the idea that you need to be an expert in order to be effective. You need to be an expert investor, an expert accountant to be on a good budget, whatever. And it's really not the case. It's more of a mindset. It really takes discipline. I think good financial stewardship is more of a character issue than a knowledge issue. Now, knowledge is important, but what it really comes down to is execution. So I think people being intimidated by maybe a lack of knowledge or maybe by mistakes they've made in the past and allowing their past to then influence and steal from their future.
Yeah.
And you talked about the idea of the longevity. That's a really hard thing for us to wrap our mind around. Jerry Seinfeld has a bit where he talks about morning guy and nighttime guy. And for your younger listeners, Seinfeld was a sitcom. It was on TV. That's back when we watched TV rather than Netflix. But the whole bit is about a guy who is making bad decisions at night that screw up his next day. And what's so funny about it is it's so true. We can relate, even if you can't relate to maybe the specific. It's like, yeah, I make decisions in the moment that make my life later on today or tomorrow harder. So if we can't even serve our future self 24 hours from now, how hard is it to serve our future self 24 years from now? So I think a disconnect between our present and our future is another big mistake. It leads to a lot of mistakes. It's perspective change that people need. And I think one of the biggest, just to kind of continue this thought, I think a lot of people, when they think about investing and finances, they're worried about principal rather than lifetime income, because financial independence, financial freedom is an income issue. Income is what gives somebody the freedom to no longer need a job or a paycheck. It's what gives them the flexibility and the dignity of not having to go to work, of being able to live independently. You don't take your 401k statement to Costco. You bring your income. And I think a lot of people, they misinterpret that, because when we open our statement, the first thing we look at is how much all our funds are worth if we sold them today. Yeah. That's the principal value. But it'd be like a farmer worrying more about the value of his trees rather than being concerned about how much fruit they can produce every month.
Right.
Because the farmer sustains his farm by fruit production. His goal is to never sell the trees. And for investors, we should look at it the same way. It's about how much fruit your orchard can produce over a lifetime, not how much your trees are worth in a moment.
I love that. So what I hear you saying is it's not so much the assets, it's what you can do with the assets. How do you make the assets work for you?
Yes. Yep.
That's awesome.
Yeah. If we went back to that gym metaphor, not metaphor, but I talked about, people aren't executing their plan to stay in the gym. And just think about it like that. You can have somebody that has access to a fantastic gym, but if they don't go, it just becomes an expensive key ring.
Yeah.
And what you have access to is not nearly as important as how you utilize the opportunities, the tools that you do have access to. And I think, again, a lot of people miss that. It's hard work. Being a good steward, building wealth, being financially independent, it's hard work. And it requires tremendous amount of discipline and patience, but it also doesn't require a PhD, a bunch of letters after your name. It just requires a good old fashioned work ethic and some high character.
It's super good. It's interesting. This is totally off topic, but I think it's ironic. As you were saying this, I think it's ironic that the business model for a gym is dependent on people not using the gym resource well.
Yeah, and we're not going to name names specifically, but there's one chain in particular that rhymes with Planet Fitness, and that is their business model.
That is their business model.
We know that you'll sign up in January, we're going to get you all excited, and you'll show up like 3 or 4 times, and then you won't use it. And I think with a lot of people, they have access through their 401k or through an IRA. They have access to tremendous tools, but they don't use them,
right?
Or they don't use them properly. And they at best, they're not getting the optimal effect out of the opportunities. And at worst, they might actually be hurting themselves. They might actually be causing more damage by misusing financial instruments, which we've probably seen that at the gym too.
Yeah, for sure. I'm thinking the parallels are so good. I'm just thinking of all of the funny memes of the people using gym equipment super poorly. And it's just such a good parallel.
So you use many fitness and nutrition analogies when explaining finances. Why is that, and how do you feel those disciplines share similarities?
Well, for one, I'm a nerd, and I have a degree in biochemistry, so I have a background in those areas. But I also think, so it's not just, part of it is my own personal interest, but the other part of it is, I think they fit. Those are both lifelong disciplines. And I also believe that both financial health and physical health are essential for living an abundant life. If you only have one and lack the other, the one you have will also suffer. So if somebody has physical health, but their financial life is a disaster, that stress will eventually weave its way into their physical health, because our bodies cannot segregate and compartmentalize stress. Your body doesn't know the difference between, I'm not sure I'm going to pay my bills, and there's a peregrine falcon chasing me and going to peck me to death, right? It doesn't. It's just stress.
Yeah.
Maybe it's a saber-toothed tiger that we're afraid of. I don't know. But we don't know the difference between a large carnivorous animal chasing us and a debt collector.
Right.
Our brains don't know that. So if your physical health will suffer if your finances are not in order. The other side of that, though, is too many times I meet people who have sacrificed their physical health to gain material wealth. And that doesn't work either, because now somebody's in their 60s and 70s trying to buy back their health. And I think both need to be built together. And I also think, like I said, they're lifelong disciplines. So you can have tremendous physical or financial health and do the right thing for 20 years and then stop doing those things, and it will degrade and deteriorate pretty quickly. I mean, I'm sure we've all seen like professional athletes on TV or something like that. Like, man, like I can't tell that you were ever a professional athlete, much less have ever seen the inside of a gym, because they stopped doing the things that got them there. And the same thing can happen with financial stewardship. If you stop doing the things that built you financial security in the first place, that financial security will eventually erode. And it's a 24-hour commitment, like just like fitness. You can't go to the gym for an hour and then eat cupcakes and French fries the rest of the day.
Right.
You can't have this great investment strategy in your 401k, but then have a dumpster fire of a budget in the rest of your life. So again, I could go on and on all day, but there's so many parallels that require, I think, a relentless commitment to both. And everybody's looking for a shortcut. They're looking for excuses. They're looking for somebody to blame. And both disciplines require us to take ownership, focus on what we can control, and to start where we're at with what we have and just push forward.
Yeah. Man, I feel like it's such a powerful analogy, because sometimes things like finances, like it seems to elude people. I think part of that is because a little bit of a fear. So it's like, I just rather remain ignorant than dig really into that. But most people, I think, understand the relationship between the things they eat, the actions they take, the physical, exercise, work, investment they make into their body, and the outcome that they get. I think most people get that. So it's like it's a really good analogy, because you can kind of see that, and you can understand. I mean, I think most people understand, hey, it doesn't matter if my workout is amazing, if I then go eat cupcakes every day for dinner. Excuse me. Like, it doesn't, like, I think most people can relate that. I think what's interesting is how elusive that can seem on the financial side for people sometimes, where they're not relating behaviors to the financial situation that they're in. What would you say that the mindset, like, how would you describe the mindset that needs to shift for people to get that, for it to be more obvious and clear?
I think one of the big ones is simply ownership. Just saying, even if it's not my fault, the situation I find myself in, maybe somebody's spouse had a major medical issue and you have debt because of that, or, who knows? Who knows what circumstances got you here? A lot of people, their financial issues are their fault, but it doesn't really matter whose fault it is. It is your responsibility to change the situation. It is your responsibility to fix your current circumstances. And for your circumstances to change, you have to change as an individual. And I think whether it's physical health or financial health, it starts with that, taking responsibility and saying, I'm not going to worry about everything I can't control, but I'm going to double down on the things I can control. And with finances, it's really common for people. They're studying the economy. They're upset about a presidential election. They're trying to time markets. They're worried about so many things that are outside of their control that they don't execute the things that are in their control. And I also think, just go back to what you said about the diet and exercise piece. I do believe there's a lot of people that try to out-train a bad diet, just work out harder. And I think on the financial equivalent to that, there's a lot of people that try to out-earn bad money management. They're just like, we just took a vacation. We probably couldn't afford. I'll just work some overtime. Or, we think we can out earn stupidity. And I've met CEOs and doctors and lawyers that have tried it. We watch professional athletes that try it. I was just looking at some the other day. I can't remember the exact number, but Allen Iverson, former NBA player, earned like almost $200 million in his career and went bankrupt a few years ago. if a guy with $200 million of earnings can go bankrupt, anybody can.
Yeah, totally.
And we have to have the mindset that I'm going to fix my behavior. I'm going to change my behavior to get my behavior in line with the future that I want.
Yeah, it's so good. That's good. Prudence, did you have something?
Well, obviously, health and finances and self-discipline in those areas is a pretty big problem for us humans. And you talk about, encouragement is important and accountability is important, and changing those habits. For our listeners, what are some basic starting points?
Good question. Yeah.
That they can start looking at if they're like, yeah, this is me. Where do you suggest that they start with changing those habits?
Let's just lay the groundwork for that first, because we have to acknowledge. I want to acknowledge what you said, what we're up against, because we are in a world that has normalized really unhealthy behavior, both from a physical standpoint and from a financial standpoint, where people are treating their bodies and their budgets like crap, and then seem surprised when they get bad results. But that is normal. It is normal to be buried in debt. It is normal to spend more money than you make. It's not good. It's not optimal, but we've normalized that. Yeah. So when people are trying to change their behaviors, not only are they working against their own habits and their own wiring, like we are hardwired to seek temporary pleasure rather than long-term security. But we're also working against society. We're working against peer pressure. So I think it's important, as people are listening to this conversation, don't discount the importance of accountability. And I believe that we've done ourselves a disservice by siloing finances as this taboo subject that nobody talks about. And don't feel like you need to do it alone. You don't have to. And most people that try don't do very well. So I think one of the first steps that we can do is normalize conversation around finances, like sharing our struggles, sharing our frustrations, and sharing our wins, and creating a circle around you. And it doesn't need to be a huge number of people, but 2 or 3, 4 people that you can talk to that understand what you're struggling with and know your goals, that can hold you accountable. Because another problem that we run into with social media is anybody with a computer can throw financial information out there. And right now we have a bunch of people getting financial advice from people that are broke. And they also, even if they weren't broke, they don't know your goals. They don't know my goals. And it'd be like taking somebody else's directions to get to your destination. So I think the first step, Prudence, is getting like-minded people in your circle. They're going to ask you the tough questions and that you can be vulnerable with, because this is a long journey. We do get fatigued. We do get tired. And we need people that are going to be there to encourage us and support us when the going gets tough. And it will.
Yeah. That's so good. That's so good. So I think one of the things that I'm curious about is, how do you approach, so maybe this isn't even true, but in my mind, we are in and continuing to move forward into just what seems like, at least in this country, one of the most uncertain times in recent history. Like, there's so many opinions that have been proven to be completely not accurate opinions. They have not come to fruition over the last couple of years, that I think moving forward with confidence is super hard. So, you've got people that are just desperately hoping for another housing collapse, and people that are desperately hoping that there is no collapse. And it's just like just a bizarro time. Now I don't know, it could be that it's always been this way and it's just more apparent to me now, but how do you help people not live in a state of fear with so much kind of uncharted territory that we're in right now, whether it's crypto? I mean, it's just so much stuff, right? How do you help people with that?
Okay. So if the first step is creating a circle around you of trusted people who hold you accountable, I think the next step is reclaiming agency. You look at the problem you're trying to solve and finding what is the smallest step that I can make towards the right direction. Because what you said is true, Chris, in the sense that I don't think it's more uncertain, but I think we're bombarded with the uncertainty.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
With the financial media, with our phones, we get bad news faster and more often than ever before. I mean, you wake up in the morning and you look at your phone, it's the first 30 seconds of your day, you're looking at all the horrible things that happened while you were sleeping. That is a great way to start your day with confidence and optimism, right? And how are you supposed to make good financial decisions when that's our preset now?
Yeah.
Is doom and gloom. So I think the uncertainty is more obvious.
Yeah.
And we're bombarded by our brains are not meant to deal with the entire globe's bad news.
Right.
And it used to be like, like back when we were kids, the news was 30 minutes and it was at night.
Yeah.
And it would highlight things.
Yeah.
Now they have to fill 24/7 news cycle.
Oh yeah.
So we are bearing the burden of the entire globe's problems on a daily basis.
Yeah.
Our psychological makeup is not meant to deal with that. So I think a lot of people need to turn off the TV.
Totally.
And not bury your head in the sand, but not allow yourself to be overwhelmed by all the things that you can't do anything about.
Yeah.
And look for what can you do.
Yeah.
Is it canceling a credit card? Is it selling a car that you shouldn't have bought in the first place? I mean, that's a pretty big one, but looking at what you can do instead of worrying about what you can't do.
Yeah.
And for some people, it might start with not looking at your phone for the first 10 minutes today. That might be a huge step forward for some folks.
Totally. Yeah, I think it goes back to what you were saying earlier. Your brain and your response systems, they don't know the difference between, something that's real and something that's fake, like a financial disaster and, a saber-toothed tiger coming after you, right? So like, I think it's incredible how we have developed a mindset that it's reasonable to bombard our brains with a constant barrage of interruptions and negative and scary things. It's kind of like if you read, James, if you read Jason Bourne novels before going to bed, and then you have dreams about being a spy, it's likely because you're programming your brain and it doesn't know the difference that you're a spy. And so then that's like your brain trying to solve the problems of how to, the Jason Bourne problems, which have nothing to do with your life. Mm-hmm. And so if we're like constantly bombarding ourselves with this situation that is completely not relevant to our actual life for the most part, your brain's like trying to solve all those problems, and it's kind of silly, but it's actually the way your brain works. So it's not like you can avoid that. So I think it's interesting that, it's interesting we're talking about finances in a time where the kind of the division and the cross section of people and the way they look at finances is growing more and more, different, more and more divided. The polarization of it is going crazy. So I guess question to you, Chad, is like, what's a more kingdom way to look at it? So if we put the practical side a second and just say like high level, like what is a more kingdom way to look at the financial state of not only ourselves, but the whole world that it's in right now?
Well, I think the kingdom way to look at it is simply the way the Bible put it is stewardship. This is not my money. This is a tool I'm entrusted with. And if we look at money as a tool, it is used to build something else, right? We don't get excited about a nail gun or a socket set. We get excited about the house that those things can help us build.
Right.
And that's all money is a tool. When money starts becoming a goal, things start going dark pretty quickly. And money is measurable, which makes it easy to make it an objective. Now, I think it's okay to have goals around money, but those goals need to be attached to something bigger. And I think to have a more kingdom mindset is looking at, I'm not trying to build wealth for wealth's sake. I'm not paying off debt for even just financial sake.
Yeah.
I'm engaging in healthy financial stewardship because I believe that's what we're called to do. And because that's necessary to experience the abundance that's around us. And I think a lot of people miss that because they have more of a scarcity type mindset.
Yeah.
But again, finances are their tool we're entrusted with. It is not the objective. It is not the end goal. It is something that we use to build something beautiful into our life.
That's so good. That's so good. Prudence, did you have something?
So real quick, why is safety not a desired outcome? Right. I like safety.
Yes, you do.
Well, it depends on our definition of safety, and too often stability is confused with safety.
That's
and a lot of people will stay in a comfort zone, and I'm just talking about financially. People will stay in a comfort zone because it's what they know, rather than stepping out into the unknown. They stay in a job they should have left 10 years ago. They stay in a relationship that they should have never been in.
Right.
And we need to have more tolerance for ambiguity.
Yeah.
And so this goes back to your question, Chris, about, all this uncertainty in the world and all that. The anxiety we feel is being fueled by a lot of those things. It's like a pilot light. We have a little amygdala in our brain. That's like the pilot light that's always burning. It's looking for saber-toothed tigers and looking for bears and things like that. And if it can't find that, it'll find something to freak out about. And then our media is just pouring fuel onto that and igniting that fear inside of our brains. And the problem with that from investing standpoint is we have told people that stable investments are safe. So if I were to ask you guys, what is a safe or conservative investment, what would you say?
I don't know. Gold. Silver.
Yeah.
Education in myself.
I think a lot of people say properties.
Okay.
Land.
There. Mm-hmm. Real estate.
How do we do?
Well, if you ask somebody in Phoenix or Las Vegas in 2008 how safe their real estate felt, they would probably have some arguments. But real estate at least produces income. But here's where I was going with that is a lot of people like gold. Gold is incredibly volatile, but on these financial talk shows and stuff like that, when they're selling fear, they're often using fear mongering as a way to promote gold. Gold actually, if you adjust it for inflation, is worth less today than the year I was born. It's a terrible long-term investment. Well, I've heard the argument. Well, if the world collapses and World War III starts and
salt's more important. Salt's more important.
And I've wondered how that
happens.
works anyway. Like, how do you show up to the grocery store
with
a
salt
brick?
Things like salt, gasoline, that's more important than gold if that all happens. But anyway.
Exactly. And even when economies have collapsed, gold was not, people went back to a barter system. You go back to like 1920s Germany or 1980s USSR. They went back to a barter system. They're trading like, hey, Prudence, I'll bake you some bread if you can help change the tire in my car. Like that's what it went back to. So you can't plan for the future with Armageddon scenarios. But when we see, just like we've seen the past couple of years, the volatility of the stock market, people are so worried about that they end up choosing things like bonds and CDs. My industry calls them safe, and it's a terrible misnomer.
Oh yeah.
Because it conserves the wrong thing. Just like I talked about towards the beginning, it conserves principal, not long-term income. Now, real estate is volatile too.
Mm-hmm.
So we just don't see it. We can't look up the value of our apartment complex or our home on a daily basis.
Right.
But with real estate, you own something and it produces income, just like that orchard. You don't have to sell it. As long as you can live off of the rent that income produces, who cares if the price is doing this, right?
Mm-hmm.
And companies are the same way. When you own companies through mutual funds or through your 401k, they can be very volatile. But the danger of stability, the danger of comfort is taking a fixed income into a rising cost retirement. So if you have $100,000 in a CD, 6 weeks from now, it'll be worth at least $100,000. If you have $100,000 in S&P 500 index fund, I'm not suggesting that, I'm just using it as an example, but if you did, in 6 months, it could be worth 90,000. It could be worth 110,000.
Right.
And very likely somewhere in between there, but probably not 100,000. It's probably above or below because it's volatile. But just think about this on its face. Stable is not safe in a rising cost world.
Right. Totally.
Just like if I were to try to hire you and promise you, Chris, Prudence, here's this new job. You're going to love it. By the way, your income is fixed. I will never give you a raise for 20 years. You'd be like, okay, whatever, dude. We're not talking to you anymore. But that's what people sign up. That's what people sign up for in retirement all the time. Where they bring fixed income into a rising cost world because somebody told them it was safe. It's stable, but stable is not safe any more than sitting on a rock on the shore is safe when the tide comes in.
Right.
It might be stable. You're not getting rocked back and forth out on a boat. But if the tide comes in, once it's over your head, it's not feeling very safe anymore. That's what a lot of people end up doing is they choose temporary comfort over financial security in the long run.
Wow. Man, that is so good. Stable is not safe in a rising cost economy. And I mean, if you just look at the cost of things, we were just doing this with our kids, right? We were talking about the cost of things. I think we were talking we have a 20-year-old. We were talking with our 20-year-old, and the things that when we were 20, which I feel like wasn't that long ago. I'm only 46. So that was only 26 years ago. That doesn't seem like that long. But the difference of cost of things is unbelievable. So if I would have taken 10 grand and locked it in a safe back then to now, I don't know what the inflation is, but it's worth, half now or something. Like it's crazy, or less than that. I don't know. Even if you look at the last 2 or 3 years, it's unbelievable, the cost of things. So what I hear you saying through that is we need to be thinking about ways for the asset to be generating increasing value that kind of matches what's happening inside the economy.
Exactly. So folks preparing for retirement, they have to be able to produce a rising income to accommodate a rising cost world. And fixed income in an increasing cost world is like bringing a knife to a gunfight. You're setting yourself up for failure. And so 26 years ago, the dollar was roughly worth about 2.5 times more. So today, a dollar buys about 40% of it it would have 26 years ago.
Wow.
I'm just trying to, it's an estimate. That's some quick homeschool math in my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if we look at it that way, if you had $1,000 26 years ago, you lock it up in a safe, you still have $1,000, but it's lost 40% of its purchasing power.
Yeah.
It wasn't safe at all.
60%.
It was stable.
60% of its purchasing power. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's even worse.
You lost 60% of its purchasing power.
Yeah.
You've lost 60% of your money, even though you have the same amount of currency units that you locked in the safe.
Yeah, totally.
You only have a fraction of the purchasing power. So when people look at this, they need to think about purchasing power and lifetime income and not worry so much about temporary principal.
Yeah, totally. Man, that is so good. Chad, that is so powerful. Prudence, do you have anything else? We need to wrap this up. I think we're about out of time.
Well, I really think that you have a lot of wisdom. I really enjoyed this. So, you want to tell us where people can find
Chad, where are the best places people can find it? Now, if you're listening to this and you're not watching, go to the show notes. We'll put all the information about Chad where you can find him in the show notes. But Chad, what's the best way people can learn more about what you're doing?
Well, if people are looking to find out if they're on track for retirement, they want more clarity in their financial path, or even to get started, veritasalaska.com is our website.
Right.
And if they're just looking for encouragement, just looking for maybe a new, fresh perspective on their finances, a little bit of a kick in the pants every now and then, they can also follow us on Instagram at veritas.alaska. where we try to put up content every day that is educational, but also encouraging.
That is super awesome. Chad, it's been absolutely fantastic having you on. Super good to begin to get to know you. Glad that we were able to connect. I think this is really important. And I think that a lot of times, it's really easy for people to just kind of slide into, man, I'll deal with that another day. Oh man, I'm not sure where that is. I'd rather not know. I'll just put that off till later. And I just think it's super important. And just this one thing, I wrote it down. It's like stable is not safe in a rising cost economy. And I think one thing that most people are feeling is a rapidly rising cost economy. So, what do they say? So the best time to plant a tree is 20 years ago. The second best time is now. So like if you're finding yourself in a situation where you're like, man, I haven't done a good job getting set up, the second best time is right now if you haven't done that. So like definitely you guys need to check, you need to reach out, connect with Chad. We'll put all the contact information there in the show notes. Chad, it's been awesome. So thank you for spending some time with us today. Really appreciate it. You guys make sure you like and subscribe. If you want to find out more amazing content like this, you can go over to eaglemountain.global, hit the TV button. We've got amazing original content there, different programs. Also, you can go to chrisandprudence.com. You can find, click on the TV button. You can find all of the other episodes of Together We Build. If you just happen to stumble upon this incredible program and you want to find out if Prudence always loses at trivia, you got to go check out the other episodes. But yeah, we'd love to have you guys, follow us there. And if you've got comments, thoughts, questions, let us know. Reach out, contact us, and we will see you guys on the next one. See you around.
Yes.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thank you for watching Together We Build with Chris and Prudence. To learn more about this and other amazing programs, visit eaglemountain.global. To learn more about Chris and Prudence and the ministries they serve, visit chrisandprudence.com.